satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It is another wonderful Wednesday's edition of Talk Today. We start things off focusing on September being National Recovery Month. Got two wonderful gentlemen in the studio. And with them, we'll get into the discussion. So please, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thanks for joining us. And thank you, too, for, honestly, the privilege and the honor to be able to sit here and through your guidance, your prayers, your counsel, helps me to be even better. So hopefully I can, on a daily basis, improve. Well, I do that by having such wonderful guests in the studio from day to day. And today, Mr. Ivan McLean over at the National Drug Council as their Prevention and Information Officer. Hey, thank you very much for joining us. Good afternoon to you,
sir.
All right. And if he doesn't mind me saying publicly, my good friend, Mr. Reflections himself, Prentice E. Panton.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here. Yeah.
Gentlemen, I want to, not just in sort of the professional capacity, but personally say thanks to you, both of you, for your diligence, the stalwartness, the way that you move about society, serve quietly as examples, but sometimes very publicly and deliberately join alongside people in helping. From a simple thing that is significant. Hey, which way are you going? Let me turn around and take you there. Not because it's raining, not because it's hot, but because you can get there safely. Or in other ways. But recovery, sometimes that word in and of itself has significant connotations. For others, it's dismissed. September, not long ago, Hurricane Ivan went through. Not in the form of Ivan McLean.
Amen.
And we had a National Recovery Fund of some sort. So we use the word in so many ways, but maybe September being National Recovery Month. Ivan, through the NDC and through you, set the stage for the discussion. What is it and why is it, and how do we sort of embrace it?
Thanks for the opportunity to be here. Certainly the connotations.
Yeah.
I'm an addict. I'm an alcoholic. Or I'm one of both.
Yeah.
Because there are people that are cross-addicted. And
Good.
And so it does have stigmas. And one of the things that helps in a person's journey in recovery are support. The groundwork is honesty. When I'm honest, open-minded, and willing to do something different, because one of the facts are, when the pain of remaining the same becomes greater than the fear to change, we change. And in that change, the recovery piece falls right in place. Right. And but there are things that is necessary to maintain that process, and one of those is support, family unit, support from the community, support from others that are on that very journey. And some of the pieces that's really important to that equally is the ability to be self-sufficient. One of the things that is stressed and that is an important piece in recovery is that we become self-sufficient. And that has it's not streamlined, because in that self-sufficiency, me being able to make restitution, whether that is just being able to pay a bus fare, to go to my former employer to say, "Sir, ma'am, I failed in this respect, and I would like to make amends in that respect. And how can I make it right?" We the person, the typical person in recovery, seeks to make it right. Whether that's just a change of the way I did things, compared to, the way I do things now compared to what I did then, or whether it's a monetary thing, but being self-sufficient, being able to give back to the community, even by way of being an employable person, to be able to contribute to the process of living. Being able to provide once again for my family members, be able to cover my own bills instead of asking my mother, father, brother, sister, whomever, for another $10. And when we look at the typical behavior of that borrowing process, I would end up sometimes using that improperly. So when I'm able to now, in recovery, be able to carry myself and learn how to ask for help when I do need help, and be able to action those things that I sought help for, is also a part of the process of recovery. And employment. Consideration by organizations, persons, institutions, to give persons that are in recovery an opportunity to become employable, to become useful, to challenge their abilities, because I assure you, the majority of addicts and alcoholics, even in practice, not just in recovery, are very skilled, competent, intelligent, engaging, lovable. The people that are a lot of people, it's found statistically, it's found that those persons that are challenged in with the addictive personality, or a addictive personality, they're very capable people. They're capable. Capable.
Indeed. And that's what we need to tap into, right?
Yes.
So, Mr. Panton, I mean, any initial thoughts, your perspective?
I'll agree with everyone on that. as far as abilities and intelligence, sometimes I engage with a lot of these individuals in different parts, out in front of the store and then over the years in employment. And it's remarkable about the high level of intelligence, and I think sometimes that's maybe what drives them to use certain substances in order to, I call it, slow down their thinking, so that they can get a moment of rest. But I feel it's very much so necessary for us as a society as a whole, and thankfully there's a lot of government agencies, there's a lot of private non-profits that are involved in providing various services, counseling, food, mental health. So it needs to be approached on a holistic basis. But like one of the key components, in a sense why I'm here, is to talk about, say, self-sufficiency and getting not only financial reward, but the reward of sense of accomplishment. That I have now changed my way of life, and I can be a reliable person in society and show up on time and do a good job and for honest pay. So that's definitely something I think that we should take great pride in, that we have come a long way. When we were young, we didn't have a lot of these resources, but now, thankfully we're better equipped and more knowledgeable about what it is and how an addict or alcoholic thinks and what they need to do to recover.
All right. So let's take this first break. Let's come back and ask about that and share with us the theme, and maybe invite us as members of society, employers and prospective employers alike, to appreciate from what you're sharing that sense of independence and self-worth that we are giving to that person, to maybe address the stigma. Is there a stigma? If so, what is it? How do we counter it if possible? And then I want to revisit something you shared, addict, and you say alcoholic. Is there a difference? And if so, speak to those connotations. But when you come back, Alvin McLean from the National Drug Council and Mr. Reflections himself, Prentice E. Ponton. Gentlemen, as you share with us, maybe we'll understand the perspective, and through empathy, maybe we'll develop that holistic approach to recovery. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointments.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Optical Outlook Caymanian Village location has moved. Same great services and products, new location. We've moved to Anderson Square in central Georgetown. It's a much larger space with dedicated parking. Please call us on 746-2020 to make your appointment at our new location today. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Please come see the difference with Optical Outlook, Cayman's premier optical provider.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. We are a non-for-profit member-centric plan with a democratically elected volunteer board of trustees representing all sectors of the Cayman Islands economy. Chamber Pension has an all-in expense ratio of 0.72%, over 16,000 members, $430 million in assets under management. We were the first multi-employer pension plan approved by the regulator in the late 1990s. And today, we are still strong, secure, and are here for employees and employers alike. If you would like to join or request further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
Do you have plans to travel to the UK? You must provide a letter of certification from Public Health and your vaccination certificate issued in the Cayman Islands if traveling to the UK via the Bahamas, the United States, Canada, Jamaica, or any other Amber List country. If you are traveling directly to the UK from Cayman, no letter of certification is necessary. Letters of certification may be requested by emailing vaccinecertification@hsa.ky. Travelers must attach a copy of their vaccination card as a screenshot attached to their email request. All requests will take 3 business days to process, and letters will only be issued within 3 weeks of a person's date of travel. Letters of certification are only needed if traveling to the UK via any Amber List country. Travelers to the UK coming directly from the Cayman Islands do not require a letter of certification.
COVID-19 vaccines are the only way forward in reopening our borders safely. Take the COVID-19 vaccine to protect yourself and the ones you love, especially those of us who cannot get vaccinated. For more information on the COVID-19 vaccine, visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman. We've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon, welcome back. And in the studio, the Prevention and Information Officer from the National Drug Council sits with us many times, this time at the NDC, Mr. Ivan McLean. Thanks very much. And Prentice Pandit, known as OI Reflections. If I might, as we get into the discussion, again, sort of just my observation, not so much from the sidelines, but to share publicly that true individuals like you, from the employment perspective to the information and education and constantly drawing alongside, personally and professionally, that means a lot to the community, because if we don't have a resource, if we don't have someone in our corner, sometimes we're battling alone, right? As we get into the discussion now, Ivan, you were sharing, and you talked very early on, you mentioned it a couple of times, the addict or the alcoholic is, and you said, words have particular connotations. Is it significant? Is there a difference for those of us who is not the alcoholic an addict? The addict may be addicted to different things, but is it significant that we differentiate between the alcoholic and the addict, or is it one and the same in all circumstances?
My position is they are one and the same.
Okay.
It's the substance.
Okay.
Some of the behaviors are different.
Fair enough.
Typically, you at 2:00 in the morning, you wouldn't have someone knocking on your door, asking for $10 to buy beer, but you would. You would for crack cocaine. I can assure you that.
Yeah. Okay.
But some of the behaviors are different. What evens the table is that when an addict uses, the obsession to use more sets in.
Okay.
When a person uses drugs that is addicted, the obsession sets in. The same with alcohol. If he or she drinks and they're a problem drinker, the obsession to use more sets in.
Okay.
And typically for a person that is of the addictive personality, when they engage in whatever substance that they use for means of management or escape, because we do that, we think we're going to manage this situation one more time with
Right.
one more drink, or even have fun.
Right.
If it's good, I want to make it better. If it's bad, I want to make it good. What occurs is actually the fact that it ignites something in us that we don't know when we will stop, where we'll stop, or how we'll stop using.
We see it. Sorry, Bernard.
I felt for me, I'm not trained in the field, but from observation, I would say alcoholic is, obviously what is alcohol primarily, and then drug addict is various drugs of choice. I would say, for the most part, the core thinking is the same: the drive and desire to get more of whatever it is that they want at the time. But definitely, the fallout, the side effects is different, as far as reliability and being able to work and perform, do their job. There is some subtle differences. Yeah.
So let's speak to that, because as September being celebrated National Recovery Month, I'm reminded the theme is recovery is for everyone, every person, every family, every community. We're all impacted and affected by the individual and the inability, seemingly, to either find employment because of potential challenges with employers, providing the option for you being able to keep it because of the circumstance. We've alluded to it. Employment seems to be very important in recovery. How important is it?
Like I say, I think it's very important that you get that level of self-worth and accomplishment, occupying time. Like when you're using and drinking takes up a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
When you stop, it's like a vacuum. So you have to fill that time with something, and work and employment can do that, right? You could work in at least 8 hours a day, or it should be, and then the rest of the time you can be, going attending different meetings. Like I said, there's a lot of counseling. There's a lot of services out there. You just need to look for. So I think it's definitely a big part of it. It's not necessarily even the first, right? Because with my experience over the years, I think people being unemployed is somewhat, in the initial stage, is somewhat a good thing in that they have time to go to these various services. Once you stabilize yourself and get yourself some level of recovery, then getting yourself your accommodations, transport, and a job is a big part of that, and to fill it in. So it's all it's a very crucial part of the whole process. Yes,
I would imagine that there be some of us for whom this is alien to us. We have no concept about having a job or having to go to work or being able to get to work, even if we don't drive or have it challenge getting to work, but we still find a way. But for that person who now has this added issue, this added sort of impediment, as it were, how then what more can we do? If we can even identify what are we doing, but what more can we do or should we be doing to assist in getting people who are in recovery into employment?
Being more tolerant. Being more tolerant, and not because I'm an addict means that I'm going to steal your checkbook, because that's that's foolishness. There's opportunity there. There's an opportunity for theft, whether you're an addict or not, and some of the things that are said in early recovery is go to a meeting, find a group that you can get involved with, surround yourself with people in recovery. If you're married, stay married. If you're not, if you're not in a relationship, don't get in one. If you got a job, keep it, and if you don't have one, find one. That's what's said. And that said, if you got to flip burgers, go flip burgers, and you do it.
Purpose.
Do it. Absolutely. Yeah. It is always said in the circles of recovery, every time you show up, when you leave, it should look better. And because of us needing to do the change piece. And not everyone is a cement man or a carpenter. There are lawyers, doctors. There are a gap. Well, every sector has people with the normal behavior patterns, and every sector and profession has those some of us that are have some complications, and the being afforded the opportunity in recovery is one of the important pieces. Not only that helps the person in recovery, but I can truthfully say this from experience, and in one degree or another, you can't find a better employee when you have. I have found that employees that come from the environment of the recovery, that are involved in recovery are quite dependable. They are someone that isn't afraid of work. Their ability to fill the gap they're capable of, because I can tell you the tenacity that it takes to stay loaded. If we were to employ a quarter of that in the recovery process and be able to put that into an organization that someone might own, they're doubly blessed in helping to support a person like that, not to mention them being an incredible asset to their organization.
So could we speak to that then from the employer as well as the prospective employer's perspective, that if you're hiring somebody who is an addict or in recovery, when we come back from the break, is it that the employer should know, the person should say, listen, this is my situation, and let's speak specifically to what those employers can do, could do, what resources or support is or should be available, and how is the employer and the prospective employee, how do we work together? Because I can imagine every single person wants to feel a sense of self-worth and value. Thank you very much, I can buy my own coffee. In fact, let me buy you a cup. That probably feels good, as opposed to, well, Mommy, can I get $1? All right, so when we come back from the break, could we talk to that, and maybe prospective employers could appreciate that there's a role that we are playing and not recognize, or a greater role that we can. All right, we're going to pause and take that break. When we come back, more Talk Today.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Look at you, listening to the radio, tuning in, getting stuff done. Total doer. Maybe you're driving, maybe you're getting your oil changed or grabbing some chicken. Maybe you're doing something that's nobody's business but yours. Hey, that's cool. We're all doing something. Now you can join a whole new community of doers doing more on findyellow.com. With custom search, local experts, and trusted reviews, whatever you're doing, get it done on findyellow.com.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
The HSA Specialist Clinic has relocated to a new, modern, state-of-the-art facility at Smith Road Center to offer you a better patient experience. Receive care from top specialists in chiropractic, complementary and alternative medicine, neurology, ENT, urology, pain management, and more. Our orthopedic and telemedicine clinics remain at the Cayman Islands Hospital campus. Please remember to bring your own face mask when visiting any HSA location. Visit our website, hsa.ky, to learn more. At the HSA, you matter to us.
By the time your children are 12, chances are they have already been offered drugs or alcohol. Talking to your children about drugs and alcohol is one of the most important conversations you can have. If you need support to start that conversation, we are available to help. For more information, call the Family Resource Center at 949-0006 for parenting support.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us in the studio. Ivan McLean, Apprentice Planton, joins us as we talk about Recovery Month, September. The theme: recovery is for everyone, every person, every family, and every community. And focusing on employment. Many of us, I believe, appreciate that sense of independence that we have. You know, the little child who has done some work and received an allowance for it, learning the concept of economics and money management and have you. But it's not just independence, it's the value that you have. But what about employers and the employee? Apprentice?
Well, for me, kind of looping back on what Ivan said earlier, I mean, I've been in business over 27 years now, and employed mostly people that I know of or think they are clean and sober, and non-users. And as far as they say theft or reliability or all those things that were touched on, they express those same things. I've caught a number of people that are, like I say, clean. So for me, it's kind of more of a case by case, not so much even addict versus alcoholic. Thankfully, a lot of them I know personally, so I kind of know the background on their history and their story and more or less what the triggers are of hired people that actually were in jail and would get on work release. And I definitely think it brings a value to the company. It certainly gives me a sense of satisfaction. Some of them are very reliable, very hardworking, very grateful that they get the job, so it's like say it's they're part of general society, and general society have different people, people, and there are people who use and don't steal, right? They manage to like say they work, they want to work. I engage with many of them in long conversations when I can, because I find it quite interesting. And I I say jokingly, but it says to them, it says if you use your energy to be a salesperson, there's no level of money that you couldn't make, because I mean sales is all about personality and conveying a message and trying to get someone to do something that they don't almost want to do or don't want to buy. They don't want part of that money then. And so they are very creative and clever people. Right? So and then we actually when I first started in my early part of my business, I hired a person who was a very much an addict, and I'd managed to find and get herself clean. And she was one of the most reliable. She always showed up on time. She wouldn't stop moving. She was constantly going through the store, cleaning and touching and getting everything organized, and super helpful to the customers. So like I said, they are some very good people that deserve the opportunity to work. And likewise there are people who are sober that don't. So we have definitely, like I say, not generalize and don't take it more case by case. And I definitely, you touched on it too. I want to know it up front, right? I mean, that's the thing for me, right? I don't want to hire you and then find that out, right? Which I understand the hesitation of necessarily telling an employer, sorry, sir, I got this problem. But certainly in my case, it brings me a comfort that you come forward and be honest with me, right? Because there's a level of honesty, there's a level of humility, and then once I'm aware of it, then I can help you, right? I can say, okay, well, we have many different businesses. I can direct you into an area of my business that I think suits you and keeps you away from certain products, right? And triggers or whatever you want to call it. So I like it up front, and I think we definitely as a company, employers, we have to engage these people, and we need them to become useful members of society.
But I guess then too, I can understand, as you just shared, that employee could be naturally hesitant. It's just going to be held against me. I mean, up front, honestly, listen, I'm in recovery. I've been sober for 2 years and struggling for a job, and every time they find out, they find a way to get rid of me just before the probation, whatever the story is, right? Or I've been back and forth for the last 20 years. Just can't seem to get, I just need one more. So how we as the employers and society, what more can we do to be not just empathetic, but actually doing something productive to help?
Well, for me, I don't fire someone because I find out that they are usually, like I said, people fire themselves or they walk off the job or reliability. That's a problem. Sometimes their addiction causes them to go back out, or non-addiction. A lot of, like especially the young people today, a lot of them are very unreliable, unfortunately. So I think we have to, like say, keep constantly working on it. I mean, it's how I, in a sense, like over the time, I've been doing this a long time. Different levels of people in abuse, some in the system, as far as prison, some not. Like say, I'm willing, which not every employer has that amount of time and energy, but I get great reward from it, in a sense of accomplishment. I myself, went through my struggles in my late teens and early 20s, and once I got clean and sober, that I was able to put together my business, and I got my thoughts together, and like I said, so that's what I say. 30 years ago, there just been some level of counseling or treatment. We have. So I think as a society as a whole, we can't discard these people. Like I say, if you really stop and just talk to them, and engage, you'd be, like I said, really surprised how high intelligent a lot of them. And I know it sounds contrary, or that's a paradox you want to say of their thinking, but they definitely have the ability if you guide them right. And when many do recover, I mean, I actually have someone in the company now that is in recovery working for me, and he's, like I said, every day he's there, he's constantly looking for something to do, and that's something I can say about people that I don't know have a problem.
So then ask me, there by the grace of God goes I, right? So with that in mind, is it then from the employer's perspective that maybe the employer is looking beyond, they may or may not be reliable, they may or may not come in, but that's part of it, and they're willing to extend that, let's just say. But is it then that prospectively the employer might be saying, there's a lot of hand-holding, this is a lot of coddling, a lot of things. From what you're sharing, once you give that employee a task, they constantly want to be engaged, they want to be valuable. So maybe if the employer is thinking that this is a lot of investment in my product, I spend a lot of time. Is that an unfounded thought process?
Yeah, you have to put in the part of time. I mean, like I said, I have the luxury of having experience and working with over so much years and being involved with it more directly personally, and not just from a business point of view. But I want to say there's probably somewhat of a luxury if you have a medium to a larger size business, because then, how I look at my employees in general, regardless of addiction level, is I have a core, and then I also have people that jump on and jump off, that go around on the outside. So if you're a one-man operation or a two-store person, it's a little bit more difficult, because definitely you need a high level of trust, because the person is going to be involved in every aspect of your business, and if the person doesn't show up, it will affect. But if you are a size where you can, let's say, bring someone in on the side and eventually, like I said, get them engaged and get them into help them continue into their path of recovery, then you might be very pleasantly surprised. They might become one day your key in an employee, right? And that's like I said, that's what I found over the years.
So it's been, I think I've heard this, that recovery is a daily journey, it's a daily walk. Is that true?
Yes.
Daily, sometimes hourly.
Yeah.
Sometimes hourly.
Yeah, by the minute.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And if I can say this, the impacts are nearly equal, because when you get someone, the normie, if you will, and he or she's a bad actor, the impacts, your brand name, the influences, your customer base, how he or she's bad decision or selfishness and bad decisions have impacted your business. It's nearly equal, to be truthful, because not every normal thinking, acting person will behave like that, and not every recovering addict will behave inappropriately. There are more that are desirous of and doing what is needed to do the right thing and be successful and be an asset than those that are not. And one of the other things you were talking about, prison, one of some of what we have found is in relationship to recidivism, some of the things that lead back to steer them back to where they came from is the lack of employment, and coupled with drugs. But it does. Employment has an incredible impact on one's behavior.
Sense of purpose and value.
Absolutely. The responsibility of having one, and the rewards, the personal rewards of having it, and
James, I want to thank you for it, man. And as we look at where we are in this month, maybe employers can start to play a role, employees, but the support. Final thoughts, Prentice. What would you say to our listeners in closing?
Well, like I said, I think there are a lot of companies, and not just myself, that are willing to go the extra mile, if you want to call it, and give people the opportunity to work. Like I said, I think as a whole, as a society, we got to come together and unite and be our brother's keeper and help each other up and out. I'm always available for people to talk who have an addiction or alcohol problem. You can come to me personally. I'll be happy to engage. And then, like I say, once you're up front with me and there's a genuine need for me to employ someone, because not always we have openings, I'm more than willing to help and assist in any capacity.
Yeah, man. Hey, thank you for that, man. That should bode well. Everyone, appreciate it very much, man.
For sure.
All right. Talk to you again soon, right?
Absolutely.
Gents, enjoy the rest of the day. Today's only Wednesday, but boy, I don't know. We'll see where it goes from here.
Blessings.
All right, to listeners, going to pause and take a break. And remember, it is National Recovery Month. Recovery is for everyone, every person, every family, and every community. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. One staff member at the Health Services Authority East End Health Centre has tested positive for COVID-19, which public health discovered through contact tracing. The clinic was temporarily closed this morning to allow deep cleaning and reassignment of staff and should be reopened by this hour. And any other staff member who is a direct contact has been isolated. The COVID-19 vaccination clinic scheduled for this evening at East End Health Centre will take place from 5 to 8 p.m. Persons coming to the vaccination clinic are reminded to bring their own face mask and practice safe social distancing. In international news, North and South Korea have tested ballistic missiles hours apart from each other, highlighting an arms race on the peninsula as nuclear talks with the North remain stalled. The North fired 2 ballistic missiles across its east coast, its first test with such missiles in 6 months, and a fresh breach of UN resolutions. Hours later, the South tested its first submarine-launched ballistic missile. 4 elite U.S. gymnasts are testifying before the Senate Judiciary Committee about the abuse they suffered at the hands of disgraced former team doctor Larry Nassar. More than 200 women gave impact statements to a court in 2018, detailing Nassar's sexual abuse when he was the sports doctor of the United States women's national gymnastics team. He is serving a life sentence in jail. 4 amateur astronauts are about to launch into orbit in another landmark mission for space tourism. It's the latest flight to help open up access to space for paying customers. The crew's Dragon vehicle, manufactured by Elon Musk's company SpaceX, is due to launch from Florida's Kennedy Space Center on Wednesday. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon, welcome back, and thank you for joining us as we invite you to be a part of a discussion. Very special thanks to the National Drug Council for their continued efforts, and as you may have been able to join part of the discussion, hopefully you were able to listen intently. Both Ivan McLean from the NDC and Mr. Prentice Ponton for joining us. September is celebrated as National Recovery Month. This month, the recovery is for everyone, every person, every family, every community. And as they've exited the studio, now we can take calls as I look at the WhatsApp and share with you some of the comments. It's important, I think, that we appreciate the significance of working together. So let's talk about any and every issue. Hurricane Ivan has come and gone, and some of us probably forgot all about it. We just had the passage of 2 weather systems. I'm not going to get into the discussion or the debate about whether they were hurricanes or tropical storms or whichever. The fact is that they've impacted our lives, and maybe we should be ever so mindful to appreciate, as Prentice, as he was exiting his final comments. Let's be reminded to be your brother's keeper. We draw alongside and help each other. And in this particular time, many of us may be focusing on the money, how much we're losing, how much we're not making, the fact that we don't have this customer base or whichever. The question, though, is that are we focusing on what is maybe also as important, some would say more important, our lives and our relationships. The discussion here and everywhere seems to be centered around the same thing. But is it a question that we're ignoring other important issues? Are we in a space and a place that because we're so heavily taxed with our time and our treasure, our talent and all the like, that we can't even think about anything else? Issues like our health care, whether the cost or the way it should be dispensed. An example would be a discussion 2 or 3 decades ago by a few of us have come again to the fore. Should our health insurance system be one that is along the lines of one central pool of people in the country, whether it's administered through a government entity or a contracted private sector entity, consortium or otherwise, where the economies of scale, because of the larger pool of people within this group, as compared to the smaller little groups that we all have, maybe through that particular insurance provider, would that reap greater economies of scale, lower premiums, better access to coverage? Should our employment dictate our health insurance cover? For instance, we understand that plans can be portable, so you can take it with you. But if you are employed with company A and you decide to take up employment in another sector or within another company, can you somehow be at a disadvantage in that you may now be able to get coverage, but it's at a higher premium? Should your employment dictate your insurance cover for health insurance, or should it be that it's particular to you? Some would say, well, maybe that should be the same for work permits. Can you imagine the government of the day, not just this one, but the government of the day, as the elected policymakers, having to now, in the midst of all that is happening within our country, in the region and globally, having to deal with the very imminent and obvious issues, still having to consider healthcare and employment, inflation and immigration, education, development, environmental factors. All of these other things are still relevant. Now, are they of the same level of urgency? Some would say even more so. Are they getting the requisite attention? Some would probably say no, not at all. Then it comes to the role that we're playing. Are we so concerned with some things and consumed by the thoughts of those things that we're not able to effectively focus on what is before us? So as we invite you to call and share about anything, whether it's the employment or prospective of being unemployed, whether it's the issue of housing and the cost of housing or the cost of living. Some of you have said, wow, my utilities, my electric bill has gone sky high. Well, that may be the sad reality, but what are we doing to address it? We see countries trying to figure out how to use the sun's energy with the view that an investment in that over the next few decades could not only improve the air quality, but could reduce costs over time. But we also see that within our own shores, that there are things that are probably, essential for a continued survival or a continued enjoyment in certain things. So share with us as you wish. It may be about, what the government is doing and how they should be doing it. You may be a champion and a strong proponent. You may be, for whatever reason, sort of inclined to disagree. Well, if we can do so responsibly and respectfully, and I've tried to be mindful of that. I recall some of my comments sometimes just to stimulate. A friend of mine said, use that word, don't use another word. To stimulate discussion, get people to think. Yes, we have and we should have our own opinions. Hopefully, they're not unfounded. We don't speak without thinking, or we have a considered perspective. But sometimes we are emotive. We get inflamed and enraged by the things that we think, how could you say that? How could you think that? Well, what if that's being said about us? And at the end of the day, again, I'll actually invite you in this. People say, you should be neutral. And I thought, it's probably a good thing to do. But then think about it. Neutral may not necessarily be effective. A friend says, he has a nice high-powered sports car that he's been wrenching for the longest of time. And finally got it where the engine was turning over. And so just to make sure how it sounded and see how the pistons were running, all the things that you car ladies know all about, it's in neutral. It starts it up and it sounds good, and it presses the accelerator and it sounds even better. But no matter how much the gauge registers relative to the RPM, whether he red lines or otherwise, if it's in neutral, it goes nowhere. So neutral and impartial and objective, not necessarily synonymous. Sometimes we got to take a position, for or against, or it may be one that, not to be contrarian, but one that would say, hey, should we do this? Challenge the status quo, champion the status quo, but offer up constructive, objective, impartial, comments, opinions, and possible solutions. 949-8037. Toll free with the compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-TALK as we go to our phones. Good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for calling. Hello.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
How are you today, sir? Good to hear from you.
Fine, thank you. Good.
Thank you for calling, sir.
Wonderful to hear. I just heard a part of it there. The plaintiffs and the young man there, McLean, very good encouragement for those on the recovery program, and also for his help. Plaintiffs to find employment for those. That's very important because, as you said, it is the number one thing. Having a job is the best sort of stimulant for recovery. And we all try to help. We know sometimes we're giving money to people. We know they're going to take it and buy drugs, but we still give out of compassion and humanity, but great many times, and you know, many times I say to them, I don't use this to buy drugs. Go and buy something to eat. But anyhow, we still help, and we still do, and we continue to do. It gives you a better feeling that you've tried to help your fellow human, and it's a very good thing. But you're talking about, which is something I've spoken of till it's like a broken record now, Black Arthur's thing. Friend. Once it's mandatory health insurance, then it should be controlled by the government. And that's what's done in most countries. All of Europe, the UK, our controlling country, the British government, that's what the system they have. And Canada has a wonderful system also. You pay it in your income tax, a very small amount you pay towards it, and you're fully covered for everything. Everything. And you even get some money to pay for drugs. That's a check every month. That's not, that you can get at the pharmacy, you know, non-prescription drugs. You get a certain check for that every month. And that is it. You can have health insurance, but that's voluntary if you want to buy that. But everybody has that. And you pay it in your income tax. It's a very small amount, nothing compared to what people are paying for here and cannot get the full benefits at all. As we all know, it's horrendous. So I don't need to go into that. You've heard stories from people, and they've run out of any more visits, and they're still paying. Remember, you still have to pay that premium. So there you are, down the river, down out of pocket, and you're still getting anything. And so that is the thing. It just takes courage on the part of our elected Parliament, which they're doing an excellent job, and they keep trying to do. But if we don't stand by them and insist on this, then we're going to remain in this position forever. And we see where most people have to be dependent on the government to cover their health insurance, give them benefits and so forth, and it's costing the government an enormous amount of money. This could have been remedied from the beginning, as I was opposed to it from the beginning, and I remain opposed to it. Anything mandatory that's taken out of your salary must be paid to the government as a tax. That's why I agree with the U.S. system with that type of thing. And we see it everywhere, nearly everywhere in the world, all of Europe nearly, and some Central American countries, and some other countries throughout the whole Caribbean, have a nationalized health system where you pay a certain amount of income tax into the government and you get free benefits. It's all everywhere. It can be done here. So I don't need to bother to try to debate that with anyone. I'm tired of that nonsense, people coming to me and asking me that. They can use their own common sense, intelligence. And the same thing would apply to the pensions.
Right.
If it's mandatory, it should be controlled by the government. It's paid to the government as a small tax. We see what happened in recent history with taking the pensions out and using it. What that was used as, it became essentially an unemployment compensation tax that all countries have. You pay that into your income tax for unemployment situations. And it covers usually a 6-month period. And you have to be explained to the government why you can't employ it, etc., etc. We know that right now what's happening. So you don't have to explain anything. But that would have been paid to the government. And you'd be amazed, just a few dollars a week from people putting in as a percentage of your salary, a percentage, a small percentage. Some people would actually end up paying nothing and still collecting as they are now. But you would be paying, and it's just so very simple that it's mind-boggling why we have not adopted such a system. As I said, it takes courage.
There you go. Hey, thanks very much, sir. And he's been an ardent proponent forever. Maybe you want to take him up on it. Maybe you want to agree with him. But let's pause and take this short break. Thank that caller so much for his invaluable contribution. When we come back, we invite more of you to share your thoughts. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
William Stephen Ryan, J.P., 1838 to 1910. William Ryan was the first Ryan born on Cayman Brac. He was appointed Justice of the Peace in 1877 and Stipendiary Justice for Cayman Brac in 1893. Court was held at his home, which was located on Ryan's Drive, across the road from the Ryan Family Cemetery, where he is buried. He was married to the former Catherine A. Scott, with whom he had 3 children, William, Amis, and James Scott. Amis was the grandmother of former District Commissioner Kenny Ryan. Bill, as he is known to friends and family, made his living fishing and turtling. The family recalls that he would never leave his nets out on a Sunday. He always pulled them up on Saturday night and put them back out on Monday morning.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Freedom, Cayman Brac. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
Bro, do you really have to eat 2 sandwiches for lunch?
No, but one is for dinner. On Tuesdays at Subway, you can get the 2 subs for any size, plus a fountain drink for the price of 1.
Nah, Bobo, that sounds too good to be true. For real though, 2 subs for the price of 1 and a drink?
Each and every Tuesday now until September 28th. Buy any Subway sandwich in any size and a 32-ounce fountain drink and get an equal or lesser value sub for free. For every 2 for Tuesday purchase, be entered to win one of 3 LG 50-inch 4K smart TVs, a Grill Pro, or one of 2 retro bikes, plus many more prizes. Subway's 2 for Tuesdays is in partnership with Pepsi and Progressive Distributors. Prize drawing is September 30th. Terms and conditions apply. See in store for details.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Radio Cayman, the voice, the heart, the soul of the Cayman Islands.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. And as we momentarily sort of get to an excellent discussion, we have the wonderful company of our Chief Officer, Mr. Wesley Howell. And, there's someone else, he says, let me bring the experts with us. But we'll tell you about that in a second. A deference to them and with the acquiescence, we have a caller just prior to the break that we'll go to the phones and join this call and continue that last discussion. Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon.
How are you today, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good, Mr. Sterling. Good day to your panel that's coming in there now today, man.
Yes, thank you, sir. Good day to you, too.
Yes, sir. Well, as usual, when I call you, I always perturb my brain and force me to call you.
Stimulate the brain, man.
All right, then. We were talking about, you said something about renewable energy, what the government was doing about it and stuff like that, right?
Well, I was, go right ahead. Mm-hmm.
Well, about 2 weeks ago, I was going to call you from before, but about 2 weeks ago,
mm-hmm.
me and a friend went to Bodden Town by the quarry up there.
Right.
And it really hurt me to hear a story that I saw. I saw like about maybe a 10-acre to 15-acre lot full with all these solar panels.
Mm-hmm.
and they're just left there for ruins. So I asked the question, what the government doing something or some private is doing some renewable energy for Cayman?
Mm-hmm.
And the person said to me, no boy, if you ever hear the story of that, here how it goes. But I gotta let the people of Cayman know what's going on if they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
When this private entity acquired the land from Jesse and them, and they got their permission and they did all these panels, and that was for the Cayman Islands to get cheaper current, cheaper electricity bills.
Mm-hmm.
As they were finished, even the poles were put up to distribute this current also in Bordentown.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as this company got this thing up and went to the government to say, well, we're ready to do this, CUC bought them out and shut it down. Why did they do that? Why do they feel like we are going to be prisoners to them? It's just like how when the competition was going to come here, when they opened for competition for the electricity people, they bought all the adjoining lands around them in industrial park so that nobody else could come there, because the deal was if anybody else come in, they're going to have to be in that same area. But they bought these lands and locked them down and just put parking lots so no other competition could come. So they're holding the country hostage and not doing anything to help the people, them apart from raising the light bills up and up and up. We, like I've always said, Cayman has sun right round the year. Even when the hurricanes come, we still have sun.
Mm-hmm.
But we are not promoting solar. Why aren't we promoting solar as an island that is this small, 76 square miles, and we have sun all year round, which is free, but they don't want us to have this solar thing? Something is wrong.
Right. Well, these are
too much stocks that the government have.
Mm-hmm. Hello, sir? Wow. Hello, sir? All right. Okay, well, interesting. Now, that caller, hopefully we can maybe revisit our conversations at some point, and I can almost with 100.0% certain to say that was not an act on her part, consciously anyway. Good place, though, maybe to welcome our guests and thank them for allowing us to at least, be able to show deference to our callers and engage them when they're online. Well, Chief Officer Mr. Wesley Howell, in this role with the many hats he wears, no sort of looming elections that we know about, so you're not election supervisor today?
No, I am actually here in my substantive role as Chief Officer for Border Control and Labour, and it's the labour aspect that we're here today to talk about. So joining me is the Acting Interim Director of Work, Ms. Watler, and we're here to share some information with your listening public. So it's our pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you very much, and I like the sort of attempt at a smile on my part anyway. Actor interim. Words are peculiar, so Ms. Watler, it is good. Welcome, good afternoon, ma'am.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Work, man. There's a place, it was a song about work. But workplace opportunities, residents Cayman. Yes. Okay, that's what it stands for, the acronym. And we see there's a job registration. We notice there's a portal through the Chief Officer. Certainly, as a deference to you, help us to appreciate, in this particular time, what is available, what we can do, how do we go about it, the criteria, who's available. I think too often maybe we could listen a little more, maybe we will learn, but then take what we've heard and translate it into some sort of positive action. But then again, I'm a Westbier, so we're ambitious people. So, sorry. So Bordentowners and North Side Easterners came back and said, everybody. But share with us, Mom.
Yes. All right. So thank you again for having us. And I believe we have our Deputy Director joining us in a couple minutes via phone as well.
Okay.
So we'll need to watch out for him. So just
listen out for him?
Yeah, listen out for him. Watch out for him. Sorry. Yes.
I'm just saying.
Words again.
There you go.
All right. So obviously a lot of focus has been on the remobilization of the tourism industry. And so we've been taking this opportunity to have the public know a lot more about our services in-house and how we are looking at the employment services throughout the islands as well. So we have our jobs registration drives, particularly for the tourism industry, but that it doesn't mean to say that if you're looking for work or in another industry, you're not able to register. So out of just under 3,000 persons who are registered as displaced workers, we've had 2,200, just over 2,200 register, and so there's just over 600 left to register now. And so for us to begin to work with them and move them through the different phases of training and placement as well.
So before we go to the phones to welcome the Deputy Director, I just want to make sure that, and making my notes I didn't miss that. You said initially 3,000, now we have 200 thereabouts, just over that. Yes. So the 3,000 came about that we consciously know of, and then 2,200 and thereabouts have been registered.
Registered, yes.
Of those 3,000.
Of those 3,000.
Of those 3,000. So there could be more.
There could be more, yes.
And in statistics, when I think the Economics and Statistics Office sort of looks at a person who is unemployed, it's the person who's actively engaged in seeking and looking for work and willing and wanting to work, not the person who says, you know what,
I wish something would come my way, but I'm not looking for anything.
Yeah, and maybe, you know, so that person now who is in that category, they need to reach out, what do they need to do, and how to go about it.
Yes. So, well, one of the things is we do have those contacts from our partners at Department of Tourism. So we have been in contact with persons, and they have particular points of contact with us too. So we've been working with them to enable them to register, as well as having public registration drives as well, because we do understand that sometimes, you know, looking at a portal, it's not just a easy email sign up. It's actually some validation required on the Jobs Cayman portal, as the service is available to Caymanians and to further the Caymanians in the industries, not just tourism.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of validation that goes on in the first stages. So you register as a person, we validate your immigration status through that process. So anybody looking to either get registered or come to a registration drive or visit us at our work offices would be able to bring their government ID, but also their proof of immigration status, so that we can verify and validate and then move you on to the next stage, which is registering as a job seeker, which is where you input all of your necessary details for employers to be able to see that information.
Okay. Well, as we continue our discussion, and we will join the Deputy Director shortly, but I think, Ms. Susan, we take that break, and then we go to the phones, bring everybody into the equation, understand that, you know, worc.ky, work.ky is the website. You want to visit that now to kind of get a perspective of where we are. When we come back, you can understand more about the criteria. So please join us after the break.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway. Eat fresh.
Water Authority Cayman wishes to advise its valued customers and the motoring public of planned works to upgrade the water supply infrastructure along Palmdale Avenue, Success Circle, Nevard Close, and Damascus Close. Preliminary work will begin the week of 6th September. Work will take place weekdays between 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. The project will lag the traffic flow. Motorists are encouraged to drive with caution when they are in the area to protect their safety and the safety of the Water Authority's staff. Customers in the area may experience experience service outages throughout the work. The authority will make every effort to give advanced notice related to outages. Customers can visit our website www.waterauthority.ky for outage notices. The Water Authority appreciates the patience and understanding of its customers and the public as it undertakes these works and apologizes for any inconvenience this may cause.
Had a look at those investment options yet?
Too busy. Look at today. Workout, breakfast, take the kids to school, back-to-back meetings, take Pepper to the vet, and she's apparently got allergies now, so... And that was all before 12. But you look relaxed.
That's because my money's as busy as you.
With RF, you can access the best in local and international investments to keep your money busy, so you can spend more time focusing on you. Contact us at rfgroup.com to find out more. RF, money at work.
The 8:10 a.m. weather report, Monday through Friday, is proudly sponsored by Pan American International Insurance Corporation. Pan American International Insurance Corporation, meeting the life, accident, and health insurance needs of individuals and businesses to ensure financial security and peace of mind. For more information, call 949-8304 or visit www.palig.com. That's PALIG.com.
Each Tuesday and Thursday from 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Optical Outlook. Visit them at their new location in Anderson Square. Telephone 746-2020. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook.
Hey, Dwayne, it's another Siwa Saint.
Is it?
Yes, this Friday, the 17th of September.
You sure this Friday is the 17th? So, what are we talking about?
Tell me something. You know what a bird is on the 1 cent?
Do we still have a 1 cent? I didn't realize there was a bird on the 1 cent. There's a bird on the way, huh?
Tell me what bird is it on the 1 cent?
I don't know. Tell me. Ching ching. A nightingale. Banana bird.
Try again.
Pigeon.
Join us this Friday and find out. That's a cliffhanger.
Really?
Special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Join us this Friday.
I heard about thrush moat and bulrush and thrush in the pond.
It's a bird.
It's a bird?
It's a bird.
Bird on the way? Bird on the 1 cent? Is it 1 cent, 10 cent,
yes.
5 cent, dollar?
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And as we speak to not just the job registration drive, the jobs portal at work, WORC.KY, Chief Officer in the ministry that's responsible for work, border control, and is it what? Employment, border control, and labor? No, just kidding. I should be. Maybe tomorrow.
It used to be employment and border control, but it's now border control and labor.
Yeah, well, it's out here too, but it used to be. And together with the acting interim director, Ms. Laura Wadler, and they'll join us on the phone. Well, been there for a while, patiently. So the deputy director. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you too for letting us cue you into the conversation. Hey, how are you today?
Great. I apologize, but thank you for allowing me the opportunity to join my colleagues and bosses as part of the panel. And good afternoon to the listening public as well.
Well, if I could, not just to the chief officer, but say thanks to the public servants like yourselves for not only being readily available, for being consistently present. Sometimes as a public, we're not appreciative that it doesn't matter if tomorrow's a holiday or today's a holiday or it's a Sunday afternoon. Those lights are not on I call it the glass house, because we forgot it. They're on because we consciously turn them on, and they actually go off when we go out. We are coming to turn them on, and you're there diligently in the various sectors, and I think that's across all of the departments. So our level of commitment and diligence is commendable, and for what it's worth, thanks for our level of public service. But we are in an interesting time in human history, and there are many people who are not as gainfully employed as they want, probably have a sense of uncertainty in their way, probably are not sure how to navigate the next steps, and all of the pressure that they may feel, the stress that may exist. hopefully we, through this discussion, can understand that there's a resource. It may not help you fully, but at least for now, you're not on your own. So as we continue, Ms. Walter, from that perspective, you mentioned certain criteria to registration, a certain process. Talk us through it.
Yeah, so to further explain the Jobs Cayman portal and the whys behind it, it's not to... It isn't intended to just be for persons that are unemployed. It's for persons who are seeking employment, whether that is they're currently employed and they're looking for what might be available, because legislation came about last year to to have employers register their jobs and advertise through the Jobs Cayman portal. So all jobs are available on there, and should they be going for a work permit, they're legally required to be registered on there. So these are jobs that are ranging from compliance, accountancy, everything that is available in a lot of our industries. So that's the intention behind there, to be able to afford the Caymanians that first slot at seeing what the jobs are available. So and there's also a lot of confidentiality with that too. So we're validating job seekers as Caymanians, but also we are we're conscious that they can see the jobs. The employers aren't necessarily seeing who the job seekers are. So just want to make that clear for persons, because I know there are concerns sometimes on, can employers see me or can my employer see me as well? So job seekers can see those jobs. Employers can't see the job seekers at this point.
So I know there was much discussion in the past, so just for clarity, do you have to be registered sort of to go on to be able to view the available jobs?
Yes. Yeah. So that's one of the pieces of ensuring that Caymanians are the first to see the jobs, is that we're validating you at that first step of, are you a real person, and also what your immigration status is, to ensure that you're Caymanian.
So the mischief that sort of policy that became practice was that you go back to the old adage that companies would advertise in the newspaper because it was a legal requirement to do so. But they weren't always forthcoming with the number of Caymanians who applied to them for that position. So some folks took it upon themselves to send their application blind copied to the Chief Immigration Officer at the time, that was what the post was called, or to the board that was considering the work permit. And then we would get into this sort of adversarial thing with the employer and hold them to account. So the design in relation to having a closed portal for jobs to be posted and for our decision makers, boards or administrators who are making those decisions, be aware of all the Caymanians that applied firsthand, so they can run their reports, they can see who's applied, they can actually see what their qualifications are and whatnot. They're then in a better position to help ensure that the Caymanians really did get a fair shake with employers. And where it appears that it isn't, then they can take appropriate decisions and refuse that work permit and whatnot.
I can see the benefit of having something like that, so that we know that within this portal we have this database of people who are looking for work. But to flip the coin over, for that person who may down the future may be interested in a career change, may be happy where they are, but wondering, what else is out there, but does not, for whatever reason, want to register. And to use as an example, they can go on websites and sort of window shop. They can go and get information from other things. And is there a particular reason why we would require people to register, as opposed to, say, those of us who are just curious, so just want to look in and see?
It is really the first opportunity for Caymanians that drove that decision. So if we were building a LinkedIn, for example, LinkedIn is available around the world, right? So when we want maximum exposure for positions, we advertise on Jobs Cayman, we advertise on LinkedIn, we advertise on paper. Invariably, when it's on LinkedIn, we get applications from people that are not Caymanian, that are not here. So that aspect of ensuring that first sieve is really for Caymanians, that's the reason behind there. But I can say it's a really good segue to say that, so registering yourself and you looking for jobs and sort of self-referring or applying is one aspect. But work also goes further than that in relation to employment services. So persons who register and apply for these additional circumstances would actually get posted with one of our employment services officers who would go that much further, help them with their resume, help them with interviewing skills, help them with retraining, computer skills, accounting,
right.
Whatever it takes to move individuals from where they are to where the jobs are.
Right.
And then those persons with those extended benefits have that matchmaking actually done by an individual. So it's almost like we have a government employment placement agency working within there.
Okay.
So that's where we add even more value to Caymanians.
I can see the added value. I can see that, but not to belabor it. But I'm thinking again to the individual, gainfully employed or not, resident in Cayman or not, curious or not, for whatever the objective. Would it be beneficial to be able to have just the ability to log on, the site, navigate it, don't have to register? You may or may not be looking for employment today or any time in the foreseeable future, but you just like how you would do with print media, you flick through the classifieds and say, what is coming up for sale, what is, just looking, you just window shopping.
So even print media that's online now you got to register for.
But I mean, would it be, you are right, and it's the changed world, but
so it is a balance between the easy access to that and again driving home that policy decision which was taken by Cabinet at the time that these jobs that are listed on Jobs Cayman are for Caymanians, so you need to prove that it's Caymanians that are looking at those jobs. So you can't have it both ways. You can't have it free for all and have it limited to Caymanians because you need to know who's looking. So that's a fundamental fork in the road. You go left or you go right, but you can't go down the middle.
I hear what you're saying, man, but I'm wondering, because like for me, the many times people say to me, well, do you know this job? I say, well, for me to know that, I will have the person to register.
So for many of our folks, Jobs Cayman has become their Cayman Compass of yesteryear. So
the classified section.
They log on once a week, once every 2 weeks, just to have a look at what's there, because employers have to advertise for that same 2 weeks on Jobs Cayman. So it's a switch in technology.
Right.
Yeah.
And businesses that are generally looking for folks will register with Jobs Cayman, and then will also post their jobs on the other career sites as well. So we get both.
Right.
But it is there is no way to have it priority for Caymanians and have it open to everybody. That just doesn't work.
Well, yeah.
And that's why we have the two services that are available, the kind of self-serve, if somebody just wanted to register and seek but not necessarily apply.
Okay.
Again, research, see what's out there, kind of see what's going on.
Right.
And then also our extended services, which are more for the active persons that are actively looking for
so
a change.
As we welcome the Deputy Director, let me just ask this question. From the statistical analysis, the reporting, are we going on an assumption that the people who are registered, therefore are prospectively looking for employment?
No, so that's a bit of a misnomer that only people seeking work are looking, right?
Exactly.
So like literally folks are registering just so that they can see what
curiosity
is browsing the newspaper, except that now it's actually electronically. So it's a change, and we do realize that some people are not there yet with the technology, which is why we have the in-person registration. They can come to the office and someone can assist them with registering. They get their contact details and we'll reach out to them by phone if there's something that comes up that fits what they're looking for, what their experienced and skill set is. I think there's one
this Friday.
Friday coming up. So that's the next step. So for individuals who are challenged by the technology, there's still the other way of getting around where that assistance can be done in person and whatnot. Yeah.
All right. Well, Mr. Deputy Director, you on TV, we would have you for your good looks, but it's that voice and intellect that we crave. Your thoughts, sir? Any input you wish to share? Okay. We drop it. Maybe it's an opportune time to take that break, Ms. Susan. And when we come back, it is important that we recognize the resource. So, there we go. See that? She waved her wand and there it appeared. Yes, sir. Sorry about that. Comments and input from you, sir.
I apologize. I was just temporarily disconnected there, so I'm not sure where we left off.
Yeah, it happens, man. We had the string to the cup, and apparently we clipped it. Sorry about that. We'll get that fixed. But no.
To answer for the deputy that didn't hear the question, it does actually help make his life easier in relation to compliance, because we now have evidence of who's applied, and if the employer hasn't dealt with them, then those are kicked back to compliance, and they can then investigate what's going on. So it really does help us police our own to ensure that they're hiring our own.
All right.
It's increased transparency overall for.
We have a couple of questions posed electronically. I still like the flying pigeon, but anyway. I wanted to know if the jobs portal, if it's easily accessible to what extent by the work permit and the business staffing planning boards, if it's in real time, and also whether the Jobs Cayman portal can produce reports to these boards or other stakeholders. So there's a second part of the question, but first,
yes, they have access to it in real time for both the decision makers and all of the boards. So business staffing plan, work permit board can see what's happening in real time, as well as reports can be produced for them as well. So active sync, I guess you could call it, is happening, and so once those jobs close, then they can see exactly who and when they applied and what happened as well. Were they interviewed? Were they not interviewed? Reasons why they were not hired. So. All right,
and we know that the small and micro businesses, as much as we facilitate them in many ways, they may be challenged with the HR component, their compliance and other things. And the second part of the question is asking, do we know how well those businesses are coping with access to the portal and be able to navigate through that process?
So our Jobs Cayman Help team is available for assistance. So we help any business, whether small or large, in terms of whether they're trying to register as an employer, because obviously you would still register as the beneficial owner that can oversee that, and then that HR team would be able to facilitate through that to be able to manage the job post. So we have our team standing by. Well, it's not 24 hours, but accessible through phone and email, and also to be able to assist where needed. We assist persons with posting jobs and seeing what is there, and just double checking and cross checking what they need to see, and to ensure that they're in full compliance as well.
And is this available? I mean, we emphasize and reference Caymanians, but we always see ads, legal residents, primary residents, legal resident. Who can and who is this service and registration for?
Caymanians and spouses of Caymanians. So persons married to Caymanians. So
PR holders and the like. No, if you. Okay.
Yes. So that's why it's geared to that, and that immigration status validation is necessary. So that's where we're walking through and understanding where those are. So.
Okay. So and this may be a sticking point for some of us, but that immigration status verification, I think you shared. Person says I'm Caymanian, they have a voter's ID card, birth certificate, passport, all those things. But what do they need? How do they demonstrate that they are Caymanian? I mean, what would they have to do?
Yeah, so that valid government ID and then that voter's registration card
suffice.
Yes.
So I don't need to go to the immigration and get a stamp saying I'm Caymanian.
That's us.
That's on. All right. So if I came with these things, that would be sufficient.
We would be able to verify that. Yes.
All right. I mean, and I'm not saying that to be facetious, as it may sound, but for some people, they have this paper, they have this stamp, that is sufficient proof. For others, well, my great-great-grandfather, and I've been here, I never left Cayman. Yeah, but. Yeah. So, proof of the registration. What else would show, let's say if a person doesn't have a Cayman passport or isn't a voter's ID, what shows it that they have? Just repeat it for me, please.
So any valid government ID, so that could be passport or driver's license, and then a voter's registration card. If they don't have that, and they can bring their birth certificate, and we can try to work through the system to work on that. So if they're not looking to drive or anything, we try to work with people to understand, because obviously we have the
immigration status.
Yes. So, but we just need to verify that is them.
Right. So that driver's license in of itself doesn't mean that you're a Caymanian, but that together with something else,
yes,
we can do the due diligence,
yes,
as it were.
So we need to make sure that person A is actually person A.
Okay. All right. Well, with great deference to our studio guest and our deputy director, you might see Miss Susan what I can. So I'm going to pause and take that break. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion. Please stay.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Save every day with FedEx. Get 40% off when you ship using FedEx International Priority and an additional 5% off on your next shipment. Visit us. Visit FedEx.com keyword Caribbean discount to learn more.
20 years.
Remember when Crew Road had no median and Linford Pearson was only 2 lanes?
We do.
When Dirty Reeds was down the street?
We do.
We have been there for the falls, the growth, and the rise. When your body and mind needed to change, Powerhouse Gym has been here. We've skated with you. Your first date, your daughter's first time on skates, your son's first strike. From football to squash, to karate and hockey, to bowling and concerts, and everything in between.
For 20 years.
So much has changed, some for the good and some not so much. Through it all, King Sports Center has been here for you, for Cayman.
King Sports Center, celebrating 20 years as Cayman's home for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's back, and it's bigger than ever. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman presents PACE, the annual Delano Hislop Memorial Journey for Life 5K walk, 10K run, and 15K ride event. That's right, parents, kids, young and old. We want you to be a part of the movement to help bring awareness to the fight against prostate and colon cancer. Starting at the Lions Community Center on Sunday, September 19th. Registration fee is only $25 and includes a free shirt and gift bag. The more people that sign up and register, the bigger the fight against prostate and colon cancer. Sunday, September 19th at the Lions Center. Get ready to pace yourself as the Lions Club of Grand Cayman presents the annual Delano Hislop Memorial Journey for Life 5K walk, 10K run, and 15K ride event. For additional information, please feel free to contact 938-1711 or 526-1711. Sign up today on CaymanActive.com.
For additional information, please email pace@cnw.ky.
The Delano Hislop Memorial Journey for Life is proudly sponsored by Dart Enterprise, Cayman Seafarers, Maples Group, Bodden Holdings, CUC, Water Authority, and Entech.
The Department of Environmental Health would like to advise Boddentown residents of a vegetation debris collection from September 13th to 18th. Boddentown residents are asked to only place vegetation waste on the curbside where it is easily accessible to DEH collection crews. Do not obstruct the roadway or storm drains or place household trash. For more information on the Boddentown collection from September 13th to 18th, please contact DEH's Solid Waste Management section at 949-6696.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us, and thanks for the opportunity to talk about work. WORC. And if you go online and log into www.worc.ky, you'll see where we are. We're talking about the jobs registration and the jobs portal. The Chief Officer in the Ministry of Border Control and Labour, Mr. Wesley Howell, the Acting Interim Director, Ms. Laura Watler, and join us remotely via telephone, the Deputy Director, Mr. Jeremy Scott. Perhaps, Mr. Scott, if you wish, we haven't had not that you're out of sight and out of mind by any means. If you wish to weigh in and maybe share with us thus far any particular comments.
Sure. Thanks, Dwayne. This obviously gives me the ability to, on behalf of work, to introduce compliance and regulatory measures that are quite strategically aligned and robust. I know at times we hear, oh, well, we're not seeing the physical presence out there all the time. What I can assure the public is that we are very, very active, very involved, and strategically aligned to support overall regulatory and governance as it relates to work, and that further supports mechanisms and legislations that are put in place as it relates to Caymanians first employment and training. So if I may just kind of give a very high overview of what is compliance for work first, and I think that will give me the listening public as well as the context as to who we are. So for compliance, we have 3 units. One is our complaints unit, which really is the central depository for the filing of complaints, and that can be ease of access instead of just making calls or sending emails to staff that you know. We have a central point of reference, and that is WORC complaints at gov.ky, and that's work complaints at gov.ky. The nature of complaints and information, we rely heavily on the public. We can't be any and everywhere, but obviously public eyes and ears, that's the central point of communication for us. In addition to that, not only are we looking at, I think commonly you'll hear, okay, well, we have the enforcement arm that looks at offenses, general reports of offenses, but we also have internal grievances, service issues. We welcome more information that we are made aware of. We're poised in a position to be able to address and change the way that we do business and improve business as we're mandated to do. As it relates to activities, we're right now we have received up to 289 reported matters. Out of that, 66% really highlights working violations. We have them coined, and that's really relating to employers as well as work permit holders who are engaged in services and occupations that aren't necessarily either authorized or there is a level of authorization, but they're outside terms and conditions of what has been approved. In addition to that, we also are capturing, and this is again for the public awareness, we're actually not just, I think historically we were always identified as only focused on one industry or one level of service for violators, potential violators. But what we're seeing right now is that we're capturing a diverse cross-section that entails not just construction, but also retail, hotels, personal employers, in the entertainment industry, DJs as well, beauty industry, hair salons, you name it. We're actually addressing those matters as it's received, where we're actually administering fines. That's one of the ways that we can dispose of matters. Currently, we are trending with a revenue of up to $283,419 for the year thus far, in comparison to last year, which was $249,692. So we're averaging, I guess, monthly from fines alone up to $31,000, which is quite significant. Now, we would like to look at actually changing that, in that we would rather total compliance, whereby we don't have those ongoing concerns. But in addition to that, we also have another unit which actually manages risk.
Right.
We have a a risk management. So we're not only we're not just caught into a cycle of always having the same problems over and over,
right?
And we're not taking proactive measures or more of an intelligence-led approach.
Right.
So from that, the sister units actually utilize that data and identify potential risk or actual risk, and then spin up projects and exercises that actually seek to mitigate, so that we're not caught into a hamster wheel every year, and that we're actually making improvements, and we're ensuring that Caymanians and employers alike are actually in fact performing in accordance with regulations and laws.
Right. So, Mr. Scott, if I could, with great respect, just ask you to let us interject our news break, and we'll come back and we can continue talking about those particular units, those three there. To listeners, stay tuned and join us after.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. As a precautionary measure, the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service will now be requiring the public who attend police stations and public-facing officers to wear face masks when entering and while inside facilities. Hand sanitizer will be available at all entrances, and you are asked to sanitize your hands as you enter. In international news, a court in Mexico has sentenced the former leader of one of the country's biggest drug trafficking cartels to 28 years in jail. Vicente Carrillo Fuentes took over control of the Juarez cartel after his brother died during botched plastic surgery in 1997. Thousands of people were murdered in turf wars between rival cartels. A major row broke out between leaders of the Taliban just days after they set up a new government in Afghanistan, senior Taliban officials told the BBC. Supporters of two rival factions reportedly brawled at the presidential palace in the capital, Kabul. The argument appeared to center on who did the most to secure victory over the U.S. and how power was divided up in the new cabinet. The Taliban have officially denied the reports. A series of camel sculptures carved into rock faces in Saudi Arabia are likely to be the oldest large-scale animal reliefs in the world, a study says. When the carvings were first discovered in 2018, researchers estimated they were created about 2,000 years ago. This was based on their similarity to reliefs at Jordan's famous ancient city of Petra, but a fresh study puts the camels at between 7,000 to 8,000 years old. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us as we talk about work. WORC.ky. If you want to visit the website and be a part of the process, we have on our phone the Deputy Director, Mr. Jeremy Scott, in the studio, the Acting Intern Director, Ms. Laura Watler, and then the Chief Officer and the Minister responsible for Border Control and Labour, Mr. Wesley Howell. Thank you, Mr. Scott, for allowing us to, sort of interject the news there. But you were saying there were sort of three within the ambit of complaints, 3 units, complaints, and then you were talking about risk management. Was that the second one?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes. Just following last comments on that. So we have risk management, and from risk management, what we're delivering there is more of a proactive measure of utilizing trends, stats, to improve and to mitigate continuing concerns, I would actually put it. So from that, we are currently, one of those projects that actually arose from that is actually more of a risk-based profile. What we've had in the past is where we have one unit that is very familiar with where, when we say risk, we're speaking of where there's violations by specific companies, employers, workers. We actually have instituted now what is confirmed to be profiles that enable decisions to actually be taken based on risk profiles. and not necessarily what we're essentially doing is not blanketing concerns for everyone, and I'm sure a lot of employers would welcome that as well, especially where we do know that the larger majority of employers are good corporate citizens as well. But we do have fractions of minorities where either it's a consistent concern on a yearly basis, or they may have intentionally or unintentionally violated the law. But we keep a register right now of that, and what we're hoping to roll out in the immediate is actually more of an accreditation system that we know, okay, well, instead of doing 100% vetting for all employers, we're actually going to focus specifically on points of concern, and then from there, we're dealing with the efficiency of service, qualitative measures, and at the same time ensuring that those who need our attention, I'll put it quote unquote, our attention, we'll give that attention that is necessary to ensure that everyone is in compliance.
And I think that's where we're looking at. So is it then that people may look at it from the sort of the enforcement compliance aspect, that, how they used to see auditors when we come in, oh boy, not them again? Or is it that it's a collaborative, cooperative approach, and some people may unconsciously, not that ignorance of law or regulation is a defense, but unconsciously be unaware that they're infringing one of the processes?
Yeah, so you would be correct that we are cognizant of that, where we have what we would identify right now as a three-tier process. One is high risk. Obviously, these are persons and companies that have violated on a continuous basis, repetitively. We have then moderate, which would be maybe there was an oversight, and we understand that, but we need to be cognizant, okay, well, what was that oversight, and are we seeing a pattern? And then the majority would be low risk. And in that, we're not saying that we're going to relax and not require certain details at this point in time, but in the same breath, we're informed, and we're actually making a decision that is in the best interest of all parties.
Right. And you referenced the fines earlier and the like, and then we've come to appreciate that there are the fines that are administrative and there are fines that advance to the courts. Significant difference, and if you wish to sort of share with us the importance of?
Sure. So you would be correct that there are alternate measures in ensuring adherence to the law. So the first arm would be an administrative resolution. If in fact it's identified and it's agreed by ourselves and the individuals or companies that there has been a breach, there is a possibility that fines can be imposed. Where you have working violations that can range between 2 to 5 times the amount of, if in fact the activities required fees to be paid. So, and dependent on the length of the violation, the intentionality, there's different elements that we have by policy that dictates what that fine looks like, whether on the first, second, or third offense. In addition, where there's not an agreement, obviously we're not the judiciary, and we want to make sure that there is a process of right to fair trial. That is advanced through the Director of Public Prosecution's office, where in court you can end up with fines ranging from 5,000, 20,000, as well as imprisonment. So there are quite stringent measures and penalties that can be actually imposed to support our regulation and law.
And you referenced earlier that maybe I missed it, but that those sort of repeat offenders, habitual ones, that what, if anything, are we doing to not only discourage that, but to ensure that it's not repeated amongst others, and they see that this behavior won't go unnoticed and unsanctioned, but to that repeat habitual offender, that it is meted out properly and maybe license revoked there? What happens to that repeat offender?
Okay, so I can speak of within the realm of work. So where we have repeated offenders, this is where our tool of the risk offenders profile will actually assist us in stamping out the consistency, because in addition to not just fines and prosecutorial processes, we also have the ability for any decisions by boards and the director and designates to actually make decisions that adversely impact those employers and workers alike, in that the law does support where they've either been fined or they've been convicted, that decisions may not be favorable if in fact those situations or circumstances develop. In addition to that, though, Dwayne, I would like to also say that we have very clear communication channels with sister agencies in relation. I know you mentioned about maybe licensing and so forth. There are clear communication lines, as well as on the flip side, where they too find that we have overlapping interests with the general public. That information is in fact shared. So we're looking at further developing and improving the way that we communicate overall from a risk profile, and under their respective laws and within their remit to make those decisions based on those identifications.
Ms. Watler, your team, I think, have a great remit, a lot of responsibility. So from the employer, have to be modeled to the employee, have them to be supported. What do we do as a general public? I mean, registration is there for one, if we're actively considering prospective employment. But what's the...
So the goal really is for folks to use the reporting lines to pass on any information that they have in relation to persons who are seeking to break the law. The work permit aspect is one facet of what what work does in relation to their remit. So they also have responsibility for rights of persons married to Caymanians. So that then brings into focus marriages of convenience and those things. So Mr. Scott and his team are also tasked with looking at those, and they do that when referred by marriage officers who are smelling something that just doesn't smell quite right. It could be a board looking at an application that they have some questions with, so the compliance checks are carried out, or it could be a random check that they're doing on in relation to that. So that's one aspect. They're also called into question in relation to payment of PR fees and other things like that. So it's just not work permit. When you look at all the letters that make up WORC, they are responsible for compliance, sort of across the board on that.
And maybe not necessarily, in this discussion, but the question always sort of comes up, are we wearing too many hats? You just reference a number of areas and you can see the overlap, but then to looking after marriages of convenience, to processing PR, to approving work permits, just the acronym alone creates.
So we were actually making solid headway, because if we go back 4 years, then we'd had a Department of Immigration which was doing all of that plus doing border control as well, right? So we split off the border control aspects now, and that's part of Customs and Border Control. So work is really focused on just that. What we have added, which is a good bit, is what was
National Workforce Development Agency.
NWDA, right? So that's now integrated, where persons who are upskilling and finding employment for Caymanians are now integral in the same agency that is looking at the applications for non-Caymanians. So that then allows us to have good visibility into who's in the market, what's there. The other steps that are coming along are the whole labor force and intelligence as to who is in the market, which students are coming back from university and what markets, and being able to shape decisions from that way. But as work is laid out, there's actually 3 deputy directors taking focus that wide remit that they have. So Ms. Sean Pardew, who is not able to join us today, is the deputy responsible for sort of the decision-making aspect of it. So it's the workforce area, as well as the boards and all that goes into the administrators who decide on applications. On the other side, we have Mr. Scott, the deputy responsible for compliance. Then we have a deputy responsible for business operations. That's finance, HR, customer service. So the load is sort of spread across the board in relation to that. So there's a lot of moving parts. But that's one of the reasons that we have been in transition, hence the interim bit, because the interim director's role was really to navigate through the change from immigration, NWDA, customs, to CBC and work. And in relation to work, the interim director was responsible for that transformation within work.
Well, I appreciate maybe as we listen, we start to understand and get a better sort of clarification of the process, and then eventually the long-term goal. We have the final short break to take. When we come back, Ms. Susan reminds us there's a caller online as well. So, hey, we're going to leverage our technology. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Bro, do you really have to eat 2 sandwiches for lunch?
No, but one is for dinner. On Tuesdays at Subway, you can get the 2 subs for any size, plus a fountain drink for the price of 1.
Nah, Bobo, that sounds too good to be true. For real though, 2 subs for the price of 1 and a drink?
Each and every Tuesday now until September 28th. Buy any Subway sandwich in any size and a 32-ounce fountain drink and get an equal or lesser value sub for free. For every 2 for Tuesday purchase, be entered to win one of 3 LG 50-inch 4K smart TVs, a Grill Pro, or one of 2 retro bikes, plus many more prizes. Subway's 2 for Tuesdays is in partnership with Pepsi and Progressive Distributors. Prize drawing is September 30th. Terms and conditions apply. See in store for details.
We think it's time you crossed over to a new vehicle. And with the 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross now at Vamt Motors, you have plenty of reasons to make the switch. The crossover body and hybrid engine is a sleek design in a sturdy structure with a spacious interior that opens to extensive cargo space. Stuck in traffic? The high-performance self-charging hybrid system automatically switches between gas and electric vehicle mode, helping you lower both fuel costs and carbon emissions. The Corolla Cross has full LED lighting inside and out, an integrated display audio system with energy monitor, and a dual-zone climate control system to ensure comfort for all. Test drive the new 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid today at Vamt Motors, Walkers Road.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And certainly appreciate the opportunity to learn more, to understand, and to perhaps not just be edified, but to be engaged as we talk about work. WORC.KY. The Chief Officer, Mr. Wesley Howell, and the responsible ministry, together with the acting interim director, Ms. Laura Watler, and on the phone, the deputy director, Mr. Jeremy Scott. Now, we do have a caller online. Give Miss Susan, not that she needs it, but some more work. WORK. Hey, good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hello, good afternoon.
If all the callers, there could be one and better. How are you, Mom?
You always got to tell me that.
Hey, I know.
We're talking about WORC, right?
Yeah.
That means hiring practices and stuff like that, right?
Does that mean hiring practices?
Mostly,
Mm-hmm.
That's a question I'm asking.
Right, and the answer is yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I heard, if I'm not mistaken, I heard about some of the penalties for breaches and penalties involve fines and jail time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as persons and businesses operating here and displaying questionable business practices, in particular hiring practices, I might want to believe that some have been fined. I won't find out how many have been charged, tried, convicted, and jailed. That when I read, no, not $20,000 fine. Some of them that is brave man are going down now about bakery. I mean going jail. But none of them bracelets when they want to go to the doctor, get their teeth, get their finger looked after, go to the dentist. That's why we know until the day that becomes a regular practice, when we charge them, try them, convict them, and then jail them. Not fines. This is not what he worried about money for. He worried about money like that. We call that the business, and you know that taxation thing, payroll taxes that might make the people of the country better, and paying fines and fees to bring things in. These are things they don't want to do, but paying for bad business practices, they're not worried about that. And I had to jail them, and I wonder who gonna have the huevos to get that done. And as for marriages of convenience, I am so proud that I've lived long enough to hear that terminology and that definition from the folks that's supposed to be taking care of it. But in a public way, that those of us who consider these things all the time, not thinking that we're crazy, is it really such a thing as marriages of convenience? And our government understands that. So thank you, gentlemen. I've lived long enough to hear it. I'm an old woman, I know, but I lived long enough. Have a nice day, gents.
Well, thank you, and I pray that you will have even many more decades ahead of you. But maybe to the caller's point, is it then that for some of us, money is important but not as crucial as a deterrent as perhaps loss of freedom, the imprisonment? If I could, without maybe asking you something that you can't disclose, have there been any sanctions meted out that have been significant? It's in excess of 100,000, or any terms of imprisonment in excess of a day or more at any point in recent memory? The latter first would be probably.
Mr. Scott, if you're still on the line, that would be one for you. But I can say before he starts is that the administrative fine register is actually shared quarterly with the DPP's office. Mm-hmm. So if there are egregious ones on there, that's something that they can flag, and we can work along with them to progress on to criminal prosecuting. And for the most egregious ones, works compliance team can also go to the courts as well. But I'll let Mr. Scott answer.
Mr. Scott?
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Banks. Thanks, Mr. Howell. There have been cases, not the majority, but minority of cases where the background, so the breaches warranted prosecutions in court. So there are still even active matters in court as we speak. And the decision then obviously is in the hands of the judiciary, determining the level of punitive measures, I would call it, that is justifiable. But we have had in the past as well where employers, a personal trader, has in fact where a conviction was handed down as well as imprisonment. So it's not far-fetched at all to identify that is a high possibility.
Okay. And just for clarity, could we then ask two things additionally? One, in addition to the administrative fine, Mr. Howell used the word egregious. So an employer has been fined a certain sum, the DPP gets the register. Can that employer, whether it's a sole trader or corporate entity, then in addition to the administrative fine, also face potential proceedings before the court, and whatever is meted out would be in addition to the administrative fine? Or once the administrative fine is implemented and administered, that's the be all and end all?
Yeah, so you would be correct in the latter. Obviously, it's not double jeopardy.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So if we do dispose of the matter via an administrative fine, that's the end of that process. Now, what I would like to assure the public and the caller is that is not an automatic get out, where every case is determined that it should be administratively fined, and that's it. As mentioned earlier, there's other adverse impact that it actually has on employers, on applications that they're actually filing. So there's an array of things. What we are also doing is looking at the propensity, the history of the activities of that individual or corporation, and determining from there. We do have very clear policies of repeated offenders, and in that policy, if there's a repetitiveness, automatically the matter should be advanced to the judiciary.
Okay. So just for clarity, Mr. Howell, to you and through you, respect to the issue of the fines and and the report sent to the DPP, the purpose or premise for doing so?
I think that's a check and balance that the framers of the legislation put in, just to ensure that the administrative fines were being applied in an appropriate and reasonable and proportionate manner. So the DPP, who has full independence in prosecuting matters, could then advise whether or not they were in agreement with that course of action, or whether or not those types of scenarios for future reference ought to be taken the other way.
So then just sort of a supplementary, if the DPP gets a register and it looks at it and says, well, employer A was fined X amount, but in its estimation, this was so egregious that this should have been prosecuted, no matter what the fine is,
So Mr. Scott answered that with the double jeopardy thing.
Right. And then finally, then from that point, this register, other than what's before the courts, so that if people want to see it, they can see it, is it like other information coming to the government?
So the register historically hasn't actually been published, and interestingly, that I figured that you'd be asking that today. So one of the things I did actually do in the break was fire off an email to our legal folks to see what any kind of legal impediment would be on publishing, proactively publishing that list. So stay tuned for the answer on that. If it can be published, it will be published.
So the intellect of Mr. Howell, boy, preemptive, huh? No. But I think this is that whole idea that as a public, we're not just curious, but we're, as Mr. Scott referenced, the employers generally want to be compliant. They want to do the right thing. Ignorance is certainly no defense, but sometimes if you don't know any better, you opt to repeat the same thing labored under, sort of being misguided.
So I know we're almost out of time. I just wanted to touch on the second part of the caller's bit in relation to margins of convenience. And I can remember Mr. Arden McLean from East End being on the show and our morning show and saying all marriages are convenient, otherwise you wouldn't get married. But
repeat that.
In the UK context, they call them sham marriages, i.e. marriage that doesn't have a solid basis. In speaking to the prosecution on this is sort of generally, it is actually one of the most difficult offenses to prosecute because by nature you're going to be prosecuting both parties, right? And both parties then have a means of not coming forward on that one. But we have been able to successfully go after individuals who are taking advantage of those of us in our society, Caymanians, who don't have the mental capacity of getting married. Like, they don't know what they're getting into. They've been tricked, or they've been illegally influenced to do that. So those are the easy ones. The ones who are knowledgeably enter into a business arrangement that involves marriage, we then have to work a whole lot harder to prove that situation, knowing that both of them, like, somebody has to stand up and say, yeah, I knowingly did.
Yeah.
you know this. So it becomes difficult, but not impossible. Mr. Scott has a long and well earned career with immigration enforcement, working under several chief immigration officers, including Mr. Connor, who's on your morning show Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. So
thanks for the promo. For the record,
that experience does come in as he leads his team in relation to bringing these things forward, covering all the legal aspects that we have to do to ensure a successful prosecution.
Well, we thank you for accepting the invitation and for facilitating this discussion. And as we close up, Mr. Scott, if we could respectfully perhaps start with you, any sort of final points for today's discussion you may want to leave with our listeners?
Sure. So definitely during the last note would be we rely heavily on the public. So please, we have a central channel of reporting. Again, I'll repeat the email, and that is worccomplaints@gov.ky, workcomplaints@gov.ky. I failed to mention as well that we've even made it easier for online access as well, so you can access the complaints folder, which is on the main page within our website, which is worc.ky, and from there you can actually fill it out, fill in the information, provide us with details of the report. If you want to remain anonymous, you have the ability to tick a box and remain anonymous, but we are not always around. We're not hearing everything. We rely heavily on the public. So I'm hoping when I leave here, I may be feeling a little bit bad for my complete unit, but we look at having a flood of information, and as much detail as you can provide us, please provide us with that. And in the latter, as it relates further to the marriages, we do know that has been an Achilles heel, and we do know that is systemic. And we do have a specific team that has actually been dedicated to that from the beginning of the year, where we're averaging about 10 cases per month. And out of those 10 cases, we're happy to say that, as mentioned by Mr. Howell, that we may not be able to prosecute criminally, but in the alternate, we have been successful in identifying that the marriage is irregular in some way or some fashion, where about 50% of those matters are in fact either becoming meeting a level of refusal, revocation, or in some cases where it has been approved, it's being forfeited as well, where we're in constant communication with the relevant authority, be it the board.
Right. Again, public's cooperation, I think, what makes a society healthier, safer, stronger. Ms. Watt?
So in closing, we want to remind people that on Friday we'll be at the West Bay Public Library between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. to assist in registration and knowing more about our services. So it's not just registering, but if you have any questions around employment services or the national and training and development that we do, please come down and see us. Alternatively, you can call us on 649-4023 for specifically around employment services and national training development, or you can visit our website, as we've said, worc.ky, and get more information. So we're always standing by to assist both sides and the multiple hats that we wear. So we're really looking forward to developing the labor market here in the Cayman Islands, and not just from the overseas aspect, but also from our Caymanian aspect in upskilling those that we serve.
I just want to thank the whole team at work for the hard work that they do. I often say it's probably the one agency that when you make a decision, somebody comes out upset because, in some cases in relation to work permits and the like, we are in many cases telling Caymanians that no, you can't have that work permit because you need to hire a Caymanian. So you have a Caymanian business owner that's upset. We decide on a work permit and have a Caymanian upset, so a Caymanian job seeker upset. But our goal is really never-ending, and that is to provide opportunities for Caymanians to have the first right of refusal for employment. And we're working diligently to make that happen. And we just ask for the Cayman Islands business owners out there, because unless you're exempted, every business has to be at least 6% Cayman owned. Let's go about hiring our own, make our lives all a bit easier around.
Well, nation building means that we build a wealth within the nation for the people to benefit.
Yeah.
And thank each of you, Mr. Scotty, for your entire service to our country. And to our listeners, as been reminded, work complaints@gov.ky, but certainly just work.ky to encourage to and be a part of the growing human resource capacity that is a country. Now, a quick programming note for tomorrow. We want you to come back and join us. We get an opportunity to speak with the Lions Club of Grand Cayman about the upcoming PACE walk this weekend as we focus on men's health, prostate and colon cancer, testicle cancer and the like. Then 1 p.m., a former parliamentarian, Mr. Diaz-Miller, will join us. And, is there life after marriage? Well, apparently there is life after politics as well. Maybe, I don't know. He'll tell us. That's tomorrow. Until then, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Shaken yet standing firm.
I was not built to break.
This is